Well, we've got basically 2 more days until the Apple event starts, which I just gotta say, man, this is all happening so fast. We just got the XR, and now we got another announcement just in 2 days for a whole nother suite of hardware that we'll probably get some of and do reviews on. So man, Apple really pushed all the hardware to the last second of this year, just releasing everything at the last minute. But before we talk about that, I want to give you guys a few quick updates about what we're doing, given Techtober is kind of at its peak right now. But firstly, these t-shirts are available until the end of October. So if you were hoping to get one, you've just got a few more days and then they're gone. And also, if you're wondering about the OnePlus 6T event tomorrow, I will be live streaming my reaction to it over on Twitch, hopefully. I don't sleep in this time like I did with the Pixel 3 event. I apologize. Luckily, there wasn't much to be excited about. But the reason I'm doing the last minute Apple event recap video now is because tomorrow's video will be about the OnePlus 6T event recap. So since these events are so close together and the Twitter poll seemed very, very close, but more people were hoping for a 6T event, I figured let's do the Apple recap today and then the OnePlus 6T event recap tomorrow. So that's the situation. Here's our last minute predictions and wishes for what's going to be happening at Apple's event at 7 a.m. Pacific in just a couple days. So we've got a bit more concrete evidence to suggest that the iPad Pros are going to have horizontal and vertical Face ID. We got this icon hidden within iOS that showcases that same size bezel with no home button, of course, meaning that most of our predictions about the iPad Pro are likely going to be true. But things get a little bit more mysterious because Ming-Chi Kuo has anticipated that AirPower, the wireless charging AirPods, could theoretically be released at this next event, which I personally doubt quite a bit because I don't really believe that it only took Apple a month to truly announce that those things were ready. If they were going to announce the new AirPods and the new AirPower Charge Mat, which by the way, I don't plan on getting, made a whole video about why I think AirPower is stupid, even if it does come out, but why wouldn't they just announce that it was ready or it was close to being ready at the last Apple event that was about iPhones and Apple Watches? Why wouldn't they announce it then and say, okay, AirPower's launch date is November something? Why would they wait till the pro-oriented iPad, MacBook event in order to announce the accessories for the iPhone? There's also some people saying that the clear case for the iPhone XR could be making an appearance after this event happens, which again confuses me because the iPhone XR literally just launched a couple days ago. Literally, we just picked this thing up, but they couldn't launch the XR with the clear case? Why would they have to wait just a couple extra days so that they could launch it at a pro-oriented Mac event? So I personally don't think we're going to see any cases for the XR. For some reason, Apple just didn't feel like making cases for the XR this year. We're not going to see AirPower. We're not going to see the new AirPods charge case that supports wireless. Though if we do, God, that took them too long, and I still don't plan on buying one. But regardless, let's focus on more of what we definitely know is going to happen, okay? So iPads. Most likely going to have the same screen resolution as before with the same LCD ProMotion display. 120 hertz should be looking pretty buttery. I'm very curious to see if there is a bezel difference between the 13-inch and 10.5-inch versions. And some people are saying they're going to stretch it to 11 inches, but I feel like they would have to develop display panels differently if they ended up doing that. So they'll likely just keep the exact same screen resolutions that we had before. I just round up to 13 inches because it's easier to say than 12.9. But currently, with the iPad Pros available right now, the 13-inch version has thicker bezels than the 10.5-inch version. So I definitely plan on getting one, but I'm going to get the one that has the smallest bezel ratio. So if the 13-inch version involves having much larger bezels than the 10.5-inch, then I don't think I'll go forward with it. If I can get thinner bezels, then I will, and I'll just put up with the smaller display. But if the bezels are the same size on both, I'll definitely get the largest option I can because I don't have an iPad anymore. I don't have a MacBook anymore. I want a mobile media consumption device, and I really miss having my iPad around. And I'm looking forward to finally have an effective biometric on my tablet because I have psoriasis, which means fingerprint readers don't work on iPads for me. So now that we're getting Face ID on a second device, it's going to make unlocking it and using it on a day-to-day basis so much easier. And I'm also interested to finally get some answers for the questions we have, like why is a smart connector on the back of the iPad? That makes literally no sense to me. Makes the whole iPad thicker. The whole beauty of having a smart connector on the side is that your keyboards and your accessories could act like a cover. They don't have to wrap around the entire device. If you put a connector on the back, how is that going to work? Maybe Apple's made an intuitive way of doing it, but I don't see that working. Maybe it won't be there at all. If you guys remember, there were a lot of rumors and a lot of leaks to suggest that the iPhone 7 was going to have a smart connector on the back for some type of modules. We were getting a lot of leaks leaked images that showed a dual camera and a smart connector that you could just dock with the case of some kind. And then when the iPhone 7 came out, that never happened. A lot of us thought there was going to be an iPhone 7, 7 Plus, and a 7 Pro that shipped with that smart connector, but never ended up happening. So we have a ton of evidence to suggest that a smart connector is going to be on the back of the iPad, but maybe at the last minute they just pulled the plug on the idea and it won't be there. We're definitely expecting a new Apple Pencil because we're seeing lots of evidence to suggest that the iPad Pros are going to be shipping with USB-C, and Apple Pencil, as it is right now, only has a Lightning port on it, so makes sense that this would be the time they refresh the Apple Pencil, hopefully with a few new colors, get it to match your iPad a little bit better than right now, which is just white. That's the only color they have, and hopefully a better pairing process than literally plugging the Apple Pencil into the iPad. Then, of course, we got more Mac updates. The Mac Mini is supposed to be getting a more pro-oriented device, hopefully a couple Thunderbolt 3 ports, some fairly recent CPU and GPU technology. I'm sure PC people out there, you'll be able to find PCs with better specs for lower price. We know that. We're talking about Mac OS here. Entry level for Mac OS is going to get a little bit cheaper now because they don't have to include the camera, the speakers, the display. Mac Mini will just be the hardware you need, and you can supply your own external monitor, which, by the way, we plan on getting one for our mobile live streaming setup so that we could put a Mac Mini with a very small monitor on a little cart, move it around the office for when we want to live stream stuff and we want it to be a bit higher quality than just with our phones, because every time we go live on Twitch with our phones, it's basically limited to 432p for some reason on Android and iOS. So with a mobile Mac Mini setup, that will make things a lot more easier for us. I'm also not planning on getting the budget MacBook, though I am interested to see what it has to offer at this event that supposedly has no touch bar but still a fingerprint reader, and it's supposed to make Mac OS in the notebook department a bit more affordable. Now, we're talking Mac OS, not Windows Chrome OS devices, so don't expect this MacBook to be under $600 or even $700. I'm anticipating this budget MacBook's going to start at $900 to $1,000, which in the grand scheme of all the MacBooks available right now, that's a bit more reasonable. That's a bit more affordable. Again, expensive computer, but in relativity to other MacBooks, it will be cheaper. Probably have okay specs, not the best in the biz, but Mac OS is going to take best advantage of all the hardware that is given to it. And then I'm also hoping that we can get a few CPU upgrades across the 12-inch MacBook line. Maybe they could update the non-touch bar MacBook Pros, which didn't get refreshed with the new CPUs this year, and then maybe update the CPU and GPUs in the iMac lineup as well, which also did not get updated back when we thought they would. I'm also crossing my fingers that they're going to give us a teaser to next year's Mac Pro, the more modular one. They don't have to unveil the price or the release date or anything. They can kind of do what they did with the iMac Pro and just say, like, here's what it's capable of doing, here's all the configurations, and it's coming in like 6 months. That's what they did with the iMac Pro. I think this would be an appropriate time to do that with the modular Mac Pro, to let people know here's a machine that's about to come out in 2019. Then you can officially launch the prices and allow people to buy it at the next WWDC. That would be perfect. While I also hope they kind of just unveil AirPower and AirPods for the sake of getting people to shut up about it, because I don't really care about it. I'm not planning on buying either, but if they unveiled it, we could all stop getting the memes and the comments and the ranting of where is AirPower? Where is AirPower? At every single event. Anytime the Apple Store gets updated, everyone freaks out. Where is AirPower? I also think there could be a few surprises in store, like probably the iPad Pros are going to end up costing more than you think. Maybe starting at around $800 opposed to what they used to be at $650. You're getting Face ID and you're getting a omnidirectional Face ID, which means that it's probably going to cost more than we were anticipating, and faster CPU and that new bezel-less design. Prices for the iPads I'm predicting to go up, but maybe they'll suddenly shock us with some new storage option. Now, the default storage option for iPads is like 128 gigs, and you can configure it up to a terabyte. As useless as I think that is, I already think 512 gigs for an iPad is a little overkill, yet they did that anyway. So maybe Apple will just keep going and keep encouraging people to do more and more pro-oriented stuff on their iPads, and now this year we'll see a 1 terabyte option in iOS, which would be pretty impressive and kind of cool, but definitely not for me. I won't be getting that one if it exists. And on top of that, we'll probably be getting a new gold color to the iPad Pro lineup that we didn't have before to match the budget 2018 iPad that came out in March. And on top of that, you probably shouldn't expect anything to come out for the iPhone. Don't see why they wouldn't have announced that earlier. Don't expect anything for the Apple Watch to come out or any Apple Watch updates. I do also think it's too early for a new 10R color. Some people, I'm sure, are going to theorize that throughout this year we're going to get a new color for the 10S 10s or the 10R at some point. That may happen, but most likely in the March timeframe, not necessarily like a week after the iPhone 10R came out. That would feel a little weird. I also think as a last minute kind of Easter egg, it would be kind of fun if Apple unveiled their own pro-oriented headphones, kind of like we were teasing earlier this year that Apple was working on their own branded over-ear headphones that were more for professionals, that were better at noise canceling and had Siri integration just like AirPods, except of course with a much better battery life. So that would be neat if they launched this, given this is a pro-oriented keynote. We could finally get Apple expanding their audio library beyond AirPods, the HomePod. Now we could get Pro Pods or something like that. That I would be very interested in seeing how they work and how they charge, and maybe putting in some newer grade tech like a W3 chip, Bluetooth 5.0, so that sound quality could be excellent and latency is really, really low, so that you could use it while editing with your Mac and stuff like that. Given the new MacBook Pros ship with Bluetooth 5, maybe they would be ideal for that type of setup. There's a lot of potential here, but what you have to for sure rely on, new iPads, new MacBook, and then the maybes slash definitelys are kind of in the Mac Mini category, and then everything else is kind of a maybe. You know, AirPower, AirPods, updated CPUs and stuff like that. This could be a very small event, or it could be very big, so I'm interested in seeing how it goes. Let me know what you guys are most excited for at this next event. What are you most looking forward to? Down with a comment below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.